My name is Yasmina Mrabet. I'm an organizer with the Answer Coalition. I'm also the permit holder for Sunday's demonstration.
Cool. And so what's going to be happening at the demonstration?
Well, as you know, the Unite the Right white supremacist fascist group will be coming to disgustingly celebrate the murder of Heather Heyer, which took place last year in Charlottesville. We, the Answer Coalition, along with other organizations, both local and from up and down the East Coast, are coming to oppose their messages of hate and show that the vast majority of people in the United States reject their message and reject their agenda, reject what they stand for, and
one thing that I didn't get to ask your colleague is about on the kind of list you put out in the press release of organizations. I saw a lot of college ones, GW in particular. Can you talk about kind of the role of college students in activist organizing?
Well, college students are pretty active. You know, they're active on campus, and they're also active in organizing with the Answer Coalition against war and against many of the racist policies that are perpetuated by capitalist America.
And so I asked this question of him as well, but I have a lot of people who criticize me for filming the people of Unite the Right, and I have people who have criticized activists for even showing up, and they say, why not ignore them? You're empowering them.
You're giving oxygen to.
How do you respond to people who say, why not just ignore them?
I mean, that's just a ridiculous proposition, because ignoring something doesn't mean that it's going to go away. Actually, we believe that ignoring an ultra-right movement like this would embolden them and make them grow bigger and stronger, and feel like they actually have a platform to freely spread their message and to grow their movement. And we can't let that happen.
And how do you see the kind of ideology of the Unite the Right playing into, I guess, mainstream politics? Do you think that has an effect on the actual policy outcomes of the country?
No, I mean, I think the policy, I think that the policy platforms that are perpetuated by the Trump regime and by all of the former regimes in capitalist America perpetuate white supremacy and really perpetuate similar messages to what Unite the Right is pushing. I think that Donald Trump exposed the racist underbelly of the United States, so it's more apparent to a lot more people now. What politicians are really serving, which is the interests of the corporate elite at the expense of the masses of working people.
I know that in its inception, Answer was really based on this kind of core anti-war movement. Can you talk about the intersection of kind of anti-war and anti-white supremacy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they go hand in hand. It's like, why is the United States perpetually at war in Muslim-majority countries or in the Arab world? In order to go to war, they have to perpetuate a message of Islamophobia and hatred and fear of Muslims. And associate them with terrorism and so on and so forth. Even though many of the wars that the United States perpetuates, which kill many tens of thousands of innocent people around the world, are terroristic in and of themselves, as is the Unite the Right group and their ideology.
So I see a number of commenters who kind of agree with what you all are doing here, but I also see some who do not. So to either the mainstream American who's not a fan of this kind of activism or otherwise, essentially anybody who disagrees with you, what would you kind of want them to know? What do you think they might not understand about you?
I'm really not sure. It depends on the basis on which they disagree. I don't really understand why anyone would disagree with opposing the spread of hatred, with opposing the spread of an ideology that targets black communities, that targets Latino communities, that targets many other, minority communities in the United States. I don't understand. So to them, I would say, okay, so then how do you stop this ultra right-wing movement? How do you do that?
I can tell you, like, one of the comments, for example, says, but this group's hate is okay. I think they're implying that you have hatred for the white nationalists, I guess. So how would you respond to that particular piece of I guess I'd call it criticism.
Well, I mean, you know, Trump says that there are some, what did he say? He said, like, there are some nice people, like, among these Nazis.
Very fine people.
Very fine people on
yes.
both sides.
Well, we don't think that there are some very fine people, you know, amongst these groups. I mean, the messages that they are pushing are actually very dangerous. I mean, they literally resulted in the death of a woman in Charlottesville last year, so they're violent in nature. We are peacefully and legally exercising our right to demonstrate against these messages of hate and for a message of unity across social divisions, for a country that is not racist, that is not Islamophobic, and that does not promote an agenda of war and militarism and the prison industrial complex.
I would love to ask about language, because in here we talk about, you use the word white supremacy to describe them, and Jason Kessler, organizing this, has used words like it's a white civil rights rally. How do you see kind of language being used to, I guess I'd say, distort the way that they're framing themselves relative to the way that you might?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're kind of using this sort of like identity politics platform where they are really, you know, weaponizing identity to push an agenda that actually casts aside people with, you know, other identities, and that puts the interests of a dominant white majority at the forefront, but really more specifically a dominant white elite majority. Minority. So in my mind, you know, white supremacy is the agenda of capitalism, and it's the agenda of capitalist America, because capitalism relies on social divisions to maintain itself.
And is there anything else that I didn't ask that I should have asked? Is there anything else that you'd want to add?
Well, just that, you know, we plan to drown out their messages of hate on Sunday, you know, just like when we went out to vote and Trump lost the popular vote and he did not have a mandate despite the fact that he took office. You know, we know and we believe we're all just average working class people, you know, in the United States from multinational backgrounds, from all different ethnicities. And we know that the vast majority of people totally oppose this message, just like the vast majority of people totally oppose the Trump agenda. And we expect that will be apparent on Sunday.